y'all. It is 10:04 p.m. It's the 10th of December of the year 2021, and I hope everyone is well. Welcome to the show. It is Friday night. Y'all know it's time for the new norm 2.0 with your boy Mo Delgado. Still and forever will be the sexiest man in this chair at this moment in time. I'm hoping everybody is well. I'm hoping everybody's enjoying their week. I'm hoping that their December has been extremely productive. This week, we'll talk a little bit about this, a little bit of that, but of course, we have to talk about the most important things that seem to be affecting the world entirely, which is COVID and SARS, COVID-19, basically, that's what it's called. It's a long name outside of the rest of the stuff. So we'll talk a bit about that. We'll talk about the vaccines. We're going to talk a little bit about the issues that are pending right now. We might talk a little bit about Jesse Smollett. We'll talk about some issues going on with the economy. We'll talk about some little issues here and there. But ultimately, what we'll talk about is anything that you and I would like to talk about, because this is the show that brings you into the conversation. So I'm hoping everybody's well. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the news today. There's a big discussion about Omicron increasing. Omicron, if you're not paying attention, is the latest variant of SARS-CoV-19. It was found, and I guess it's attached to South Africa, being its origins. Omicron is now in over 53 countries in the world. And just recently, let me see the date of this meeting, the World Health Organization held an update about COVID-19, and it was, what was this? It doesn't say. Maybe 2 days ago. COVID-19 is 57 countries. So, in the last discussion we've had, COVID-19 or Omicron, as we were trying to actually just find out what the hell is Omicron and why does it seem to be another chapter of Transformers? No. Let's actually just find out. What we're trying to find out is what are the symptoms of Omicron, and is it something that we have to be extremely careful for? Because ultimately, how it affects you and I will really foretell how important it is for us to know and be prepared for it. So, Omicron has had similar symptoms as Delta virus. The only thing about the Delta variant is that the Delta variant moves the way it is. Most people are aware of the Delta variant. The difference between Omicron is that it's expedited, a lot more intensity about its. You're able to catch it a lot faster. It's more aggressive in its spread. In addition to, it seems to spread around your cardiovascular area a little bit more, a lot quicker. So we have to be very, very cautious of Omicron, because it is known to hospitalize or create the need for hospitalization in a large percentage of the people who are caught Omicron. There's still the discussion going on whether these latest vaccines, the I think it's mRNA vaccines, whether they'll be able to defend you with Omicron. World Health Organization is suggesting that, yeah, there's still a potential for it. However, the main reports out of South Africa, the main health official, lady that came on, I'm going to get her name shortly, but she came on to discuss with the world about how COVID-19 and the Omicron is not as effective, or it's not being attacked or defended by the variants. The vaccines, as they were so happy to announce ahead of time. They didn't see it, and it's becoming more aggressive. World Health Organization, forgive me if my mouth is working, I'm extremely tired right now. But the World Health Organization is working really from all angles and tirelessly to try to get as much information, try to get a handle of it, because it's spreading. As I said, it's 57 countries as of 2 days ago where Omicron is. And of course, it is here in the United States, including the state where this is home base in New Jersey. Omicron is spreading quickly, so don't be shocked if Omicron knocks on their back door, so to speak. Not to say I'm wishing on any one of you catching Omicron, but the reality is Omicron spreads very aggressively, and people are becoming susceptible to Omicron. Where's my phone? I'll get my phone. So we have to be very cautious on how we move and who we interact with, because Omicron could impede on your life. So let's be very active in taking care of one another and taking care of things, making sure everything is going good. So that's about Omicron. The other thing is the federal level of health department, the CDC, is also spreading information around. They're doing it aggressively. They're reaching out at all forms of communication, whether you have registered, signed up for it or not, to try to contact you to, one, to encourage you to get vaccinated, or two, if you've been vaccinated again, to encourage you to get the booster. Again, the efforts by the World Health Organization, the CDC, and all other agencies around the world, it seems, is to get to at least 90% of the entire population on this planet to be vaccinated within this year. So it was a target that was missed last year. So they're trying to retarget to make sure that people get vaccinated this year. Let's see how aggressive it is. Let's continuously watch and pay attention as it is. Remember, there's been some cases where these vaccines have affected people in not so favorable ways. That's why you have to be very cautious, and also alert your health department, health officers around you. If there's anything that's affecting you in an odd way or creating something, an abnormality in your body, or something that you just don't feel well about subsequent the vaccine, please let them know so they can do a proper check to make sure everything's going good, so they can trace if this is something else in your system, or it is the variant, or the vaccine itself and how it affects you. So the origins of these vaccines can better understand how it's unfolding onto the community, so they can fix the issue and or help you get better. So that's the discussion as far as the COVID and how the Omicron is moving around. As we know, that's last week. If anybody wasn't around, if any of you may not have been made themselves available for last week's show, on last week's show, I talked excessively about the variants themselves and what determines which one is which, even the vaccines itself, even the time frames or the parameters upon the booster shots. Boosters are continuing. Again, the discussion is still taking place, and this one probably we'll hear about it soon. It'll be launched out, the one pill hitter quitter vaccine that Pfizer's going to make available to the community, that AstraZeneca had made available to the other part of the world, as in Europe and Asia. So we'll see how that goes on. But again, the utmost important to pay attention to where you are. Try to stay 6 feet away from people, human beings. If you have to interact with anybody, make sure that you're extremely clean. Make sure you wash your hands, your feet, any areas where you think you'll touch people, and try to avoid any kind of touch with anyone. Just if you're coming out from if you're coming indoors from outside areas, and if you're home, just take your clothes out immediately. See what you can to get them cleaned, making sure that you're sprayed. Lysol still works. Folks, it seems to be more available now on the shelves as once before. It was gold mine and people were stacking them up and selling them. All that stuff is on the shelves right now. So make sure you get your cleaning supplies, including Lysol. And then Trump's favorite beverage, which is bleach. So do what you can and get prepared, because what's coming down the pike might be stronger, might be a little bit more effective, as Omicron has proven to you. It's that smart bacteria, the smart virus, that is learning from its target and then adapting to a target to grow even further. So this smart weapon that was created, in my opinion, a weapon that was created by man, and solely my opinion and not the opinion of everyone else involved in the show, is turning out to be a very effective device. So let's counter its effectiveness and do what we can to make sure that everyone stays healthy. Okay. Other topics. Excuse me, y'all. I gotta get my. Sorry, Patrick. I'm sorry. Yeah, what's up, Patrick? Anybody knows my man Patch? My dog sits by the edge of this device, my chair, and sometimes gets hit, and sometimes he gets upset with me. But as I said before, let me see if I can talk. I'm sorry, y'all. I shouldn't be all over the place, but I am for the moment. And make sure that I cover all the topics. Okay. New York City. New York City itself just recently voted in their city council to allow documented non-citizens to the rights to vote in their local elections. This is probably going to be the most contested race on a national standpoint because this opens up opportunities for documented immigrants that or documented non-citizens to come in and vote all over, which this also enables the new residents that come from war-torn areas or the residents that are people who have moved here or shifted here or immigrated from other countries here and are right now in asylum status and or potentially becoming citizens, having the right to vote. So this is going to play big time in elections, not only in New York City, but as we've seen large signs of this type of integrational system, you'll see it go on. I'm proposing that I'm suspecting that Chicago, Illinois will be a region, Philadelphia, Los Angeles will be a region, or larger areas where there's a large immigrant population living. You'll see a lot of that interaction take place. And if that privilege is provided statewide all over the United States, you're going to see a lot of shifting and moving and a lot more inclusive to our documented non-citizens, potentially making elections a little bit easier or less likely to be easily swayed. You might see a lot more activity take place, but we'll see how it goes on. This is the important thing as far as New York City, which is really, New York City is seen to be a Democrat-leaning city in a Republican state per se. But the way things are going like this, you might see a big change. You might see a huge change. Just recently, a modern-day slavery ring was uncovered in the region in Georgia. In the state of Georgia, there was a slavery-type ring where people who were immigrants, mostly Mexicans and Central Americans, were enslaved, quote unquote, as found by local authorities and Homeland Security. They were trapped and used for labor all throughout Georgia, a lot of them agriculture and what have you. They were kept indoors at the time until they had to work. They weren't allowed to come outside. They lived in really bad, their living arrangements. They had no sleeping. All they had to do was cots or sleeping on the floor type deal. They were starved at the time. Penalties being had when you saw civil unrest. We were being beat, what have you. So Georgia is identified for a slavery ring that was just recently broken up. So let's see how Georgia deals with the backlash of this. And now moving forward, how the governor's race is going to be something that is going to be huge because if anyone's been paying attention, Georgia has been the target for large amounts of shifting when it comes to elections, and some of the factors taking place that's really going to move forward in this up and coming election is when you have, oh goodness, I'm trying to locate the names of the president. Forgive me, because we're talking about, I want to say Abrams, not Abrams. What's her name? Georgia gubernatorial. I'm trying to, please forgive me, y'all. Georgia's race is coming up, and the contest, the contest for the governor's office is going to play heavy, because one of the important factors that we have going on, it is Stacey Abrams. Ms. Abrams has been a huge, powerful voice in politics this past year, with her different initiatives, including getting your souls to vote, or to the polls. I think that's the initiative. Forgive me for not having everything on point, but that helped the Democratic Party on a national standpoint score some big points in the election. So it's extremely important that people pay attention that this moving forward, because Stacey Abrams could potentially put some fire under the state Senate there, and create some rules or change some rules to protect some of these individuals that were being picked at. We're talking about the slave labor, or the agricultural labor, those people that worked on farms. They've been targeted and now being exposed for the wrongdoing that's been taking place on them. So we're going to see some activities going on as now Stacey Abrams works again to become the governor in Georgia. I know that's going to be a target of her campaign. So I wish her well. Kemp is somebody that, in my opinion, represents only a small factor or faction of Georgians, and that state deserves people in office that can do so much better. Let me see. Let me see here. I see my man Adrian's about to come on. Just before anybody loses track on this whole thing, tonight we won't be taking 3 hours of your time. We'll only be taking 2 hours at a time, as we're now trying to hone in a little bit more on a more secure time that'd be a lot feasible, a lot more digestible to you, to the listening body, and also the people, anybody else who may be willing to come around to the show might want to participate. 3 hours may be a little too tough, and walking into the wee hours past 12 may be a little bit beyond the scope of people in reasonable work schedules. So we'll see how people goes on, and let's see if my man comes on as well. Hold on. My brother Adrian, how are you, man?
What's going on, Mo?
How you feeling, man?
Chilling like a villain.
Okay.
I hear you. It's good, man. It's all good. It's all gravy, baby.
That's right, gravy. I love it.
That's what they used to say back in the day. It's all gravy, baby.
That's very true. It's very true. I don't know. Oddly enough, I was watching this video. I think it's called Soul Sonic. You know, it's Anderson .Paak and what's my man's name? Filipino kid. Anyway, they have this persona, this 1970s persona, and they sing the songs. And it just reminded me, when I'm listening to the song and I'm listening to some of the things that you say, I'm like, yep, that's Adrian right there. My man would be macking if he could. He'd be there singing it, rocking it with them. So
I was listening to Steve Harvey morning show this morning, or yesterday morning, as a matter of fact. And this lady was saying that this one guy that she was dating was still living in the 70s with the fur rug and the whole 9 yards. The fur on the wall, the whole 9 yards of the floor. You know, this guy was still living back there, man. He never got out of the 70s. The 70s left him back there, you know?
That's at work home. Now, certain time frames people can remember, yeah, those 80s, those 60s. Oh, man, the 30s was the best years, and so forth. So we live it the way we we recall some of our best times.
Exactly.
I never hear nobody talking about, damn, my worst times were my 70s, but I miss them days. Shit. I haven't heard one of them.
Remember the hard times back in the 70s, but we're going through that right now, so there's no difference.
Very true. Very true. But how was your week been, man? Everything good? Very productive, I guess, right?
Oh, of course, man. I'm telling you. I don't have it any other way. God is good, man. Just keep believing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Speaking about believing and things like this, have you seen lately what what was taking place with Jesse Smollett? Talking about believing, he was trying to make the world believe that he was being attacked solely because he was a gay black man.
I know. But not only that, but he dragged Don Lemon into it also.
Was it Don Lemon?
Yeah,
was he involved in it?
Pulled Don Lemon into this. Yeah.
Wow. See, I didn't know about
that. Don Lemon was tipping him off exactly what was going down. There's a good possibility that he might end up get terminated from CNN coming up right after Como.
Wow, I was about to say that's a Como effect, huh? They're gonna call it the Como effect from now on. That's
he was tipping him off. He was tipping off Jesse Smollett every step of the way.
That's a damn shame. He really made himself. He you know how you say with the struggle in certain, the struggle of the LGBT community. Mm-hmm. To me, in my opinion, he sort of like made things a little more rougher when people in real situations get it. That's a shame too.
He is the quintessential boy that cried wolf. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly. He's yelling fire so long. They're like, look, bring your crispy ass out now because you've been lying so long. But it's funny. What little I did catch of the case, I seen the defendants in that case, in that situation. It was so like cool, calm, collected. It was like, nope, wasn't me. Nope, wasn't me. It reminded me of Richard Pryor back in the day when he says, yo, was that you? Did you actually sleep with that woman? Nope, wasn't me. But I saw your penis. Nope, wasn't me.
No, but you see with Jesse Smollett, he was having sexual relations with one of the brothers.
I know that's what he was saying. He said him and the brothers.
But not only that, come on, Mo. He tried to say that the brothers tried to extort $1 million from him. Black people don't get involved in extortion like that. $1 million, you know what I'm saying? Because they'll be labeled too quick.
I don't know.
By the authorities. There's certain crimes that we do, admit to it. There's certain crimes that we're not even going to step foot into that arena.
Man, these African brothers seem like they had something underneath their sleeves anyway, but just the whole idea of that stuff was kind of foul, the timing and everything. And all I kept thinking was, I said, man, it's really sad that in this present day, it's such a large intention or such a large view, and there's a lot of consideration, a lot of compassion being pulled into the stuff. And all I kept thinking was, if it's true, that's foul as hell. But if it's not true, that's even worse. And it ended up being that way. I'm like, man.
But the case of the week is the Dante Wright case. That's the one whereas the cop actually shot him inside of the car. That's the case that's actually going on right now.
Oh, okay.
The cop that actually, shot Dante Wright. They said that she wanted to commit suicide after shooting him that same day.
I did hear that. Officer is now on suicide watch.
Yeah.
And someone trying to say that she's only doing this to prevent the prosecution to take place. I said because they have a certain consideration for her.
Killed the man. She said she was meant to pull out a taser, and she pulled a gun and shot him instead. Come on.
No, she knew. She was trained. She was trained the difference between
26
the
years, bro. 26 years. You can't tell me that you don't know the difference.
Shit. Yeah, all right. But we'll see. Justice is rolling out in different ways this time. In certain cases, we don't necessarily see the justice clearly, but in others, it's right smack in your face. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's. Sometimes it looks like it's a tit for tat, like on a national agenda. Like justice may not necessarily be served in one, and then a week later you find another case and justice is served, and it's like a balance type stuff. And it's a shame, man, because.
But that's why they call it the scale of justice, because it never stays at one level. It keeps flipping back and forth.
And that's a shame because it's supposed to be balanced, but it isn't. And that's true. Lady Justice, I think, she's been drinking too much. That's all it is. She's been drinking too much. But that case is going to be big, man, because that's also going to affect police officers, unions, and so on and so forth, because they spend lots of money in support of her to defend her. And that's understandable, when it comes to unions and how they're supposed to protect one another. I totally understand that. I can respect that. However, what took place shouldn't have taken place, and a life shouldn't have been taken. You know what I mean? And hopefully the details will show exactly what needs to be shown so justice can be unrolled. Because ultimately, Dante Wright cannot be returned. He can't be alive.
Ever.
There's no.
Ever.
So that's a mistake that shouldn't have been made.
Exactly. But the thing about it is, they're trying to blame him.
Mm-hmm.
He said he should have never tried to drive off and all this kind of nonsense.
But isn't that the stereotype though? Victim shaming. That's always seems to be a stereotype in the shame.
Blame it on the victim because he can't talk for himself.
Not at all.
He can't speak for himself. Dead man tell no tales, so he can't say anything.
Nothing. That's a shame. That other case that's pretty big right now is, I don't know if you've been paying attention, because it's not all over the place, which is crazy. You got to look for it. It's only certain websites and certain media covers it. The Ghislaine Maxwell case, and her interminglings here and there. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I think the last count was 11 suspected CEOs and high-end professionals and or elected people in position have stepped down, resigned, or quit from their high-level positions during this time. And the suspicions are, as this court case continues, their names may be uncovered on this list that was kept.
Yeah, the rats are jumping ship. The rats are jumping ship right about now.
Hell yeah, Trump got nervous.
Yeah,
let's see how nervous the governor of New Jersey is.
Well, not only that, you said that Trump got nervous. I think he's getting even more nervous, Mo, because
the insurrection case.
Not only the insurrection case, but the Attorney General for New York, Letitia James, says, I'm not going to run for governor because I have a few more cases that I have to actually see through. So instead, she's going to send out a subpoena for Donald Trump to show up in her office in January to testify on the taxes that was going on in New York and his properties, how he was inflating and deflating all of the taxes.
It was crazy. Did you hear exactly how it was? I forget who it was that actually told the story how he was doing. Yeah. He was assessing, he was making his own evaluations, inflating the value, and then doing a marginal.
He was fudging. He was doing the fuzzy math. He was fudging like a mug.
So you can get higher levels, interest rates will be lower, his money that he was in, it was all, and that's fraud, bank fraud, all the way around.
This fraud completely straight across the board.
Remember, he used to get pissed off when somebody said he was just a millionaire. He's like, no, I'm a billionaire.
Exactly. But then when the government comes to him, he says, I'm just a millionaire, multi-millionaire. Mm-hmm. But then other than that, he would be very braggadocious and says, hey, look, I'm a billionaire. Yeah. So now that they're coming after this billionaire, he has situations now that they already got one of his men, they already kept him. So he's going to rat him out.
Let's see how Bannon sings. I'm waiting to see if he sings because he was arrogant about his whole thing. Even with this insurrection situation, because it's January, he's supposed to be called on a subpoena to answer for those things. He will not have presidential protection. No executive protection, which is right. I think
Steve Bannon is not going to get any type of executive privilege right there. First of all, that's out the window.
Especially Trump wasn't getting it. He wasn't getting it.
Correct. And the second man that they're actually getting ready to pull, based on a lot of legal scholars, they say he can't even do it also, simply because he wrote a book. And when he wrote the book, he spoke all about it in the book. He sold the book. So you can't go back and actually yell executive privilege when you actually put it out into the public already. You publish it. Right. So it waives your, any type of executive privilege that you might want to say within this case.
He framed his own self. I mean, it's kind of foolish, but
well, he dug a hole, he jumped in it, and he buried his ass. And that's all it is to him.
Yeah, big time. The only thing they can say is, "I'll throw you a life jacket," but that life jacket is going to go on with you when you get locked up.
So not only the insurrection part that Trump is dealing with, but the property and the fraud. But then there's another case going on in Manhattan also, which is the criminal. Letitia James is taking care of the civil. Then you have the boys down in Washington, they're taking care of that insurrection deal. And then you have the criminal, the civil and the criminal going on in New York. So Letitia James is taking care of the civil. and the District of New York, Manhattan District Attorney, they're taking care of the criminal.
I know NPR was talking about the insurrection, and that case is going to actually, it appears to be a lot larger than was first talked about, because the implication is, were they aware of the security, the way the scope, the schematics of how security was, how many security personnel was there, who was aiding and abetting in security and or police, allowing them to get so close to the Capitol? Did they have, were they provided with not only information but more manpower from the inside, from people who were supposed to working to defend? So it's a lot larger, man. This is going to actually roll into something that's going to determine how the alt-right is going to move forward, because now that's the discussion.
But not only that, because you keep hearing whispers here and there that Donald Trump wants to run in 2024, and he's hyping a lot of these jokers up. He's going to be too tied up in litigation. He's going to be way too tied up in litigation.
But he's saying I will run. The thing he's not saying is that he's not saying the rest of the sentence. I will run away to avoid prosecution.
Exactly.
That's what he's actually telling people. I'm trying to run away.
Mo, this is the only way that he could keep the money coming in and flowing in right about now. He could keep, you know, singing the same old song that I'm going to run. They're going to believe. They're going to keep sending him the money, you know, thinking that he's going to run it. At the end of the day, he's going to say, I changed my mind.
Yep.
But then they're going to come back and say, well, can we get a refund? Because they say, like, no, we don't do it that way.
Election laws, and the way things are in election laws is that if somebody wants a refund, you have to process it by sending information to them. Why? So it can be posted or filed with the federal
with IRS.
Right, the IRS or the federal level of elections.
Correct.
So,
Election committee.
So, which is crazy, because that can actually take years. In a stalling plan, appeal plans, and so forth, there's ways to stall it. But it's crazy, because, and to also think, for you that may not be fully aware, when you contribute to an election, if by some chance they don't win the election, or if they win the election, if they have an excess amount of money, they get to keep it in that account. They keep it in the account up to the point where, if they lose an election, they no longer become they're no longer an elected official. That becomes a pending bank account that later on can be claimed by that once candidate, can be claimed for themselves. And some people have used the proposal of running elections to raise money, knowing the window of time. I think at one time it used to be 6 months after an election, you're able to withdraw close the account, withdraw it, and accept it as, you know, a contribution towards life period. You know, I forget exactly the terms. Now it may be a little longer, but still there's a procedure, and it's done so and elected on, so the governing body doesn't absorb that money, because it wasn't intended for the government body, it was intended for the person. So we'll see, because there's a lot of money being turned around. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of money in politics. I already told you that, just like sports. There's a lot of money in that also. You know, Michael Strahan is getting ready to go to tomorrow. He's getting ready to head up into space tomorrow, Michael Strahan.
That's funny. But I'm happy for the man, because if you look at Michael Strahan, in the very beginning as a giant, you know, he was solely sports. So you look at him as being a megalith, one amazingly large, very violent, very, you know, destructible individual that, you know, can just go through walls. Start developing as a personality, became a talk show host. Now he's growing, and he's showing that, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. And at this point in time right now, he'll be a football player, ex-football player in space, the first ever. Yeah. And matter of fact, in this situation, he'll be the first black man to be ever in space from this in this fashion, because I think he's going up with Bezos, right? Is that the case?
He's going up with this one guy and his Father and the Son team is going up. Michael Stern and a few others. I don't think Jeff Bezos will be on board this one, because he's already put it on that.
I meant his company. I think his company is the one that.
Yeah, Blue Origin is the one that's actually putting this rocket up in space tomorrow.
Yep, that's Bezos, right? Yep.
Yeah, that's Bezos. Yeah.
Yep. So he's sending people left and right, man. It's like the diving bell. Diving bell used to be off Lake City.
Eventually, it'd be like catching a bus. Like catching a bus. You know what I'm saying?
Back in the day, we used to get these. We have buses here in Lake City called jitneys, right? So back in the day, we would take you get tickets to get access to get on these. So you'd have jitney tickets.
I know where you're going with it. Continue.
You're gonna have space tickets soon. You'll see people trying to hustle tickets. Yo, I got 2 seats for the next one on Mars. What's up? we'll see how it goes. That's going to be interesting.
It's gonna be very interesting, because like I said, we're living in the future. Everybody's going into space these days.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I said the same thing. We live in a bubble.
Oh, yeah.
And every time you go into space, you pop a hole into the bubble. So how could you pop a hole into the bubble and stuff and not expect the sun rays to come on through and damage the earth with what's going on? Everything, for every cause, there's an effect. There's no doubt about it.
One of the top 3 businesses that are spoken of that's going to be mobilized really, really soon, having to do with space travel and things like this. One is Terra Farming, of course, creating an atmosphere so people can live, or at least an atmosphere that's applicable to whatever form of life that you think you are, because it could be oxygen underwater to have fish only on the moon or what have you. That's just terraforming. Another having to do with the universal space grid, creating electrical or communication grid over top of the globe that can help as an impetus if, say there's a meteor coming. It's able to protect the planet. So you got that one. And the third one is crazy, is space junk. There's so much debris in space. That's one of the things before they used to be concerned about going into space by utilizing the ozone layer, the whole of the ozone layer to be able to go into outer space. Now they have to use intricate radar to ensure that they don't hit junk that's flying around in space. Like recently, you saw how Russia had detonated and exploded. I think they threw a bomb and blew up one of their satellites and didn't care how it would affect it. And then the universal, what's that? The space station was being threatened. I was like, that's the space junk. That's some shit.
Well, a lot of countries put a lot of space junk, things into space. United States, Russia, China, I believe, if not mistaken, India. A lot of these guys put all that stuff up there, and and that's what's happening because they had to cancel a flight recently because of the space junk that's floating around. And I believe that's the one that's getting ready to go up tomorrow.
And then as it increases, it's going to be, the question is making sure that it's a safe, well, you say like the passage to get up into space, you have to make sure it's safe. If you have debris and everything in the way, that's like automatically.
Exactly. They have to wait until
it can blow up again.
Yeah, they have to wait until all that stuff clears before you can actually continue, along with the weather.
And they've been testing, this is the odd stuff, because people have been testing space junk for radiation, space dust, time, nano energy, they call it black energy or the God particle, testing all those stuff for those things. And they still, a lot of times they could have removed it. Like they finally created a device to clean some of this, some of the junk in the ocean. It's an actually floating device that takes in as much floating debris, plastics and so on and so forth, and it processes them. So it's able to be utilized. It's recycling. The same concept is going to possibly be launched or created for space within the next decade because you're going to need to. We have to be concerned about meteors.
They pollute the ocean, they pollute the space.
Just polluted. We're just a bunch of nasty, polluting people.
You know what I'm saying? And now we're polluting each other with a COVID. Exactly.
Nastiest individuals all the way around, man. But you see that? Did you see in Georgia? Well, you know how Stacey Abrams is now building her campaign, and now that she's starting to get out there, and all of a sudden, Kemp is being questioned why he allowed a slavery, modern day slavery, take place in Georgia with the agriculture. They were using immigrants coming from Texas, and they were using like coyotes to deliver them over to Georgia so they can man their fields.
I'm not surprised because you have to remember a lot of Republicans were also caught some time ago having a lot of people, illegal aliens, working for them. And as soon as that came out, they started getting rid of them and hiding them all over the flipping place. And so, I'm like, where's the surprise here?
There's no surprise, but it's a shame because you still see. And you know what the odd thing about it is, America is facing the truth about slavery. However, they want to deny that they're still using slavery as free labor, making people wealthy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's in essence how Americans, or the forefathers of Americans here, became so wealthy by using free labor. I think that was the same situation taking place in China. You saw how China got exposed, how they've been genocide against the Uyghurs.
Yeah, yeah,
being exposed even more so at a larger grant. It
yeah.
was a watchdog organization that showed video on how they were treating it. Now they have to face it. Now there's accusations of the world court getting involved. I'm like, okay, now you telling China, right? Come to
Yeah,
the
but
world.
China said, look at America, because America is killing its own citizens, by via the police, and that's what China is actually saying. And look at
I
the insurrection.
I love that. I love that dialogue
Yeah,
because
that's a hell of a kickback right there.
that's actual the best kind of clapback. You're gonna
Yeah,
talk about
man.
me. Make sure you watch you clean on their side.
Exactly, exactly.
That's deep. That's deep. But we'll see
Yeah,
because
yeah. That was a hell of a clapback. You're damn right.
yeah. So I think last report suggests that there's about 1,000 or so Uyghurs that have been murdered, assassinated through
About a
genocide.
million. 1 million.
A million. Wow, that's
Yeah,
It's
that's a
growing.
lot. They're trying to wipe all of those guys out because they think that they were responsible
Mhm.
for the Tiananmen Square situation that went on many years ago, also trying to overthrow the government.
And their target is for anybody who's paying attention is that they're Muslims. They're Asians, but they're Muslims.
Yeah,
So that's their target. And we don't know if this is religious genocide or what have you, but human beings getting slaughtered just because of beliefs. And it's
yeah,
a shame because it's opposing what the their national beliefs are. But as individuals, that's basically the end result of being
right.
independent in China. That's sad.
Hey, that's the kind of world we're living in. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? We're living in the kind of world that
yeah,
there's a lot of problems. I
right.
mean, that's with inflation here in the United States and all of this kind of craziness. We're living in turmoil.
Hmm.
We're living in turmoil.
Yeah. I think was I talking to you this week and you were telling me you talking about how things are going in turmoil. It's just crazy because even at the smallest level, I think it was in my son. We went to get a couple hamburgers, right? And we went to
Hmm.
sit down into a place called Red Robin's. And so we just sitting there talking, and we saw on the menu they were offering chicken wings. And my son, out of the blue, was like, "Hey, Dad, did you know there was a shortage on chicken tenders?" I was like, "How the hell can you have a shortage in chicken tenders?" So the more and more I'm just just perusing the internet, I'm come to find out there's growing shortages in our meat supplies.
Of course.
Like poultry has been affected big time
Yeah.
because of the way beef was, the issues that beef, bovine flu, and all that stuff was taking place.
But
The
you have to
issues
remember, we import a lot of poultry also from China. A lot of people are not familiar with that.
China and South Africa, South
Right.
America, South Africa. Yep, yep, a huge percentage of it because
Yeah.
I know. And Georgia and Virginia used to be the biggest poultry producers. They would take them, they would get birds from other parts of the world, different countries. They come in and get produced here in the
Mhm.
United States and get claimed like they're made in the USA.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's the sad truth because
But
for
right now, there's a trade war that's happening with China, but you also have, this crisis that's going on, with
Mhm.
the shipping prices.
Right,
So everything is like going to get extremely expensive.
yeah,
So we got to stock up.
right before Christmas, we're gonna see how it
Got to
unfolds.
stock up, man. I'm telling you.
Yep. So anybody paying attention when you out there buying your chicken nuggets and so on, so if you better store them suckers in the freezer. You might be on a gold mine. Patch.
Mhm.
The producers that just came from work, so they come in and
The executive producers.
they're acting up. So that's the crazy stuff because when we sitting up there talking about it, all I kept looking. Matter of fact, it wasn't. It was we were at Denny's getting a burger. It
Denny's.
wasn't. It was at
Hopefully, it wasn't the one in Northfield that had a problem with the water.
yeah. It was at Northfield.
It was that same one. Yeah,
Yeah,
they had a problem, man.
did they?
Yeah, they had a serious health crisis over there.
I didn't know nothing
Yeah,
about that.
and based on what I've heard, I believe that the manager was terminated.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well, we
but
were in there and we ordered a sampler platter. A sampler platter. You got onion rings and mozzarella cheese sticks
I'm
and
fully familiar with it.
yeah, chicken tenders. Them chicken tenders look like small little fingers. They were like this small. I was like, what the hell kind of chicken is this? But it was like,
That ain't chicken, that's pigeon.
and that's what I kept saying.
Pigeon tenders.
That's exactly either that or having little what do you call them? Pheasants, little the other little birds. It probably was a pigeon wing.
Pigeon tenders. That's why you see a shortage on the boardwalk. Pigeon
Oh
tenders.
my god! Can you imagine that stuff? Because you have people that eat all kinds of stuff all over the world. All of a sudden, that's going to be the biggest trend: pigeon wings.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Wing night.
We used to make fun when I worked at the plaza. So what is these pigeon wings or what? You know what I'm saying? Because they're showing chicken because chicken would be a little bigger.
Uh-huh. You see, the pigeon wings are hilarious, man. You can imagine that shit. Wing night, people going to go get some pigeon wing nights. All of a sudden, you get pigeon wings like this. Like, what the hell is this? It's wing night.
When we talk about that stuff here in the United States, overseas, that is actually what's happening.
Trust me, they eat all kinds of stuff all over the world. We was watching a show just today. There's a food show, and I think it's the world's best food. I think it's what's called. Yeah. This guy's quite brave. You know, he was eating brain.
Zimmerman.
Who? What's his name?
Andrew Zimmerman.
No, not him. No,
Zimmerman. This guy actually goes, "Hey, this guy, huh?"
Yeah. Andrew Zimmerman. He had his own show, and I remember him. He had a problem with the food.
He says if his food ever looks good, eat it. So he was eating bats and all this kind of crazy barbecue bats.
All kinds of shit. God bless the people who can do that stuff. I told my son my preference wise, I wouldn't eat a lot of that stuff they're talking about. But if you're talking about countries and they're poor and they're really struggling, and this is part of their culture, if there's somebody who's trying to break off a plate of my food, I'd be respectful. I would front and pretend like I liked it, but I'd be very respectful.
Yeah, because even certain countries, you won't even be able to own patch because patch would be a meal.
Trust me. It'd be a son.
Somebody did a table about a year ago. You know what I'm saying?
I told you when I was in the service.
Talked about there's certain areas in the Orient where they still eat dog. There's certain smaller dog.
Yes.
Dog. I'm not. They mess with the cats, but the dog.
Yeah, but in China they actually takes the cats and stuff, and they turn that into a barbecue cat sandwich.
I haven't seen cats, but I know that that's the rumor. But I've known how there's areas of the dogs. Remember these shows? That's like I said, we watch these about 3 or 4 different people that work with go worldwide all over the place. And there's one show he ate him and his buddy eating animal penis. This show they just started yesterday. I was watching. They was eating brains, different types of brains. I was like, God bless you. If that's part of your everyday meal.
Indiana Jones movie. Remember Indiana Jones when he was eating the monkey brains?
Monkey brains. But remember, it reminded me of when they used to have this series. It was a shock and awe series. I can't remember the video series, but one of the biggest things, and I can't remember, it was Shocking Asia, something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember. I believe that I know what you're talking about. When they used to do all kind of like craziness, eating and stuff like that,
beheading and stuff like that, everything, all kinds of stuff. But one of the things that really left an impression is you see a table, and I don't know if it was Afghanistan or something in that part of the world, where they lock in a rhesus monkey on a table, close the table up so all their head, and you're giving them all a mallet, and they beating the shit out this monkey to eat their brains. I'm like, what kind of primitive nonsense? Ew, and they just eat it. It's like butter. It's fine dining. I'm just like, you sick ass. What? And the monkey sitting up there looking like Kennedy. Yeah.
You see some craziness because I remember I was watching not long ago. It was a game show, and the guy actually won a car and a goat. And then the next person won a car and a bag of rice. You know what I'm saying?
I love watching these foreign TV shows. Recently, I stumbled onto Steve Harvey in South Africa doing
the Family Feud. Yeah,
and some of the stuff was funny. It was getting on my nerves a little bit, but you get to see the traditions and stuff like that, and just the funniest shit that people do, all over the world that we look at and be like, what is that? And they make it big, but that's something to have a show like that. Be like, what's the next contestant? You have to walk on the line of fire and eat poo-poo. I'm like, okay, great. Next on this show. Okay. Starting next week. This is crazy stuff. But you know what? Some of my favorite shows, I don't know if you've ever seen the shows coming out of the Orient, like Japan or China, when they do these game shows. Hilarious. I'm talking about they get dressed up in full body suits and they have to have their bodies filled with Vaseline and have to climb a plastic wall up. The shit they make people do. They have to go through these walls. They have to be scared. They have to carry. It's like these incredible feats, and it's hilarious. Every show, my stomach is hurting from all the laughter, because people are made to do the craziest things. One person, it was a line of people's armpits lined up, and someone has to smell every armpit to determine who's who. I'm like, ew, the nasty stuff. They did the same with people's behinds. Oh my God. I'm like, Asia is bold as hell with some of the shows that they do. It would definitely not succeed here. It would be like a craze for the first parts of it, but the American digestion, the ethical digestion would go crazy with it. It would be.
We have standards. We have standards to a certain extent. We have standards to a certain extent.
Yeah, certain standards, exactly. It'd be popular as hell on the internet, but as regular mainstream, please.
Because I mean, you go down south, they still eat alligators, they still eat frogs, frog legs,
Oh well, shit,
and all that kind of stuff, So
I've tried them both. Have you ever had frog before?
No. Any more questions?
Frog legs, they say it tastes like chicken. It does taste like chicken.
Everything tastes like chicken once you put barbecue sauce on it.
I mean, fried frog legs.
So look at Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, he was crazy. He thought that human tasted like chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, he was eating bros legs. Nah, that's right. He was eating genitals and bros legs. That's okay. That's sick pup from outside Atlanta. It's a trip. He was, I think he had something like 38 bodies all over the place. Under his house, it's like he had his own freezer, like just in case pile of people.
Yeah, he was a mess, man. He was a mess.
These cannibals, man, they do all kinds of stuff. But these individuals are just, oh, goodness. You see,
let me ask you a question. What do you think about that young man that actually did a shooting recently in that school? Because there was another one that was about to jump off just day before yesterday.
You see how the psychotic look he had on his face?
Yeah, but it also arrested his parents too up in Michigan.
Yeah, that was a big, It just happened, just yesterday?
Day before yesterday. There are 4 kids, and then there's one that was about to go down yesterday until the kids in the school tipped the authorities off, and they arrested the guy. He sold his car, bought ammunition, and he was getting ready to go. He was training to go into the school and just let it loose.
You did. But here's the craziest thing. Are you paying attention how frequent this is happening? And also consider this on a national standpoint. This is gun season, gun show season. Like coming home, I was in Philadelphia earlier today, right, for my son's treatment. And big old sign, gun show, December 17th through 19th, at wherever it was. It is gun show season, gun expos and gun show season. So it's all over the place. Yeah, guns are being spread.
Yeah, these boys ready to go hunting in the woods and stuff.
These guys don't hunt for shit. They try to hunt for bodies. They're watching Squid Games and stuff like that and thinking this is thing we can replicate. It's stupid. Something I also saw, which is crazy, it just shows how violent America is starting to devolve into. I saw an Amazon commercial for a flapjack. You know what a flapjack is, right?
Yeah.
So whoever created this flapjack is supposed to clip on your belt like a wallet. You're supposed to store your change and your keys in it. And then if and when you need it, just clip it off and undo the binder and you have a flapjack. And all I keep thinking to myself is, nobody's using flapjacks for shit. They're going to shoot you. Secondly, the minute you pull it out, the key's going to fall out. You're going to look stupid. And thirdly, what the hell else is next? You have all kinds of hidden weapons on your belts. Everyone's walking around like Batman because they got all kinds of weapons, guns, knives, everything. Nobody fights anymore. There's no such thing as a fight. Speaking about it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I'm waiting to see if Laurel comes on tonight because apparently there was a big ass fight at Harris.
I know. I saw that this morning when I woke up.
You saw the video?
Yes, I saw the video.
Oh, it was crazy. But the weird stuff about it is that it's not a group of people that you would think would be so violent.
I know.
It were real estate brokers, realtors, beating each other up. I mean, full fledged.
Mo, times are hard, man, on the boulevard. You know what I'm saying? If they're out there taking other people's listings and stuff, they go buck wild. I guess they showed it.
Crazy. I saw the chairs flying. I saw some guy looking like he was in WWE hitting a flying elbow. I was like, damn.
I picked up a chair and I'm like, where are you going with that chair over your head? You know what I'm saying?
But here's the hilarious part. I don't know if you saw that stuff. people were mocking or making fun of the security guard that had his back to the actual fight. He had his back to the actual fight, talking to the people.
Hey Mo, you gotta look at the pay scale. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not knocking it.
You gotta look at the pay scale, and you have to contemplate how good are your benefits at this particular period in time, and do they pay you enough to get involved? I know because I work security at Tropicana, so I know that.
Oh my God! But it was funny how it took a while for anyone to show up, and then when they did, the guy immediately turned around. Then another guy you could see was visibly a very young guy, Latino guy, tried to go in there and like piece up with other people and was just standing in the middle of stuff. I'm like, you about to get clocked, have a flying chair at you, something like that, because you want to play peacemaker.
And that girl with the miniskirt climbing over the railing, she's like, I'm out of here because this stuff ain't working out. She's like, we peace out, you know.
Yeah, a bunch of realtors. I said, you got to watch about that dude standing in the picture with his shirt wide open and his pants and his jeans on.
I don't know. You know, I know the people that run security over at Harris because I used to work there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it seems like, you know, being as liberal as they are over there at times, things normally will go down over there because these people think that they could do any flipping thing. It's unreal. You know, once you draw the line, let these people know that you're not playing or you're not joking. I mean, I've worked there and I've seen craziness over there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because at times I would even call my supervisor and say, something is getting ready to go down over there. So I think you gotta get on it right about now.
Right, you can see it. You can see it. But you know what I think the downfall of this situation is? At one time security used to be something serious.
Oh yeah.
Casinos. Serious. Where you do something wrong in the casino, you're gonna get your ass whooped and then get processed in the police department and so on and so forth. Now it's like hands off, they wait for the police to come.
Do you know the reason why? Do you know the reason why?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
The reason why, because many years ago, when I worked at Tropicana, one of the security guards actually killed a patron. Mm-hmm. And he was prosecuted for that.
Yeah,
a lot of security guards now. That was many years ago, back in the 80s, early 90s. You know, so a lot, and now you're looking at the pay scale also. You know, you get what you pay for in life. That's just the way it is. Very simple. You know, you don't pay that much, you're not going to get all that great. You know, and that's it.
Let me tell you. Security, look, I'm not in the thing. Security, I saw this girl get picked up.
Maybe you want to block your plate and all that stuff. She's still rocking branding.
That's right. I'm speaking.
Anyway,
I seen somebody pick up this chick and broke her back. I wish I would. I wish I would.
That's a hell of a lawsuit.
Pay scale.
Yeah, exactly. You get what you pay for.
That's right.
You get what you pay for, and that's what a lot of businesses are realizing right about now. You know, you mentioned something to me earlier, Mo, when he says, you know, a lot of small businesses may not be able to make it. A lot of small businesses right now are folding. The mom and pop business are folding. Not only that, the big conglomerate. Have you been to? When last time you been to the Hamilton Mall? Look how dead it is up there. They're going to close down a lot of Macy's. They closed down CVS. They're going to, and these guys are going to, because they have enough money to go on the internet and dominate the internet with the amount of money that they have. And they're going to do that. Because look at Amazon. Amazon, you know, didn't start off with any stores, but Amazon is blowing these guys out of war. And Walmart is another one. Target is another one. All of these guys. And that's where the entrepreneurs are going to go challenge the behemoths out there, create a website, and they're going to say, my product is cheaper than yours. You know, and that's what's going to happen. Is all of the competition is going to be online. Everything.
The only thing you're going to see at a mall would be restaurants. That's the only thing you're going to see. Eateries and restaurants.
And now, I tell you, even the other thing that they have online, I hate my thing.
Why are you being on the show?
Because I can. Online, the company called like Easy Afterpay and Klarna or whatever. You can order from Macy's, anywhere, Gucci or whatever, and then they give you 4 to 6 payments. Everything's online. Everything you want. Because
you're looking at this pandemic, which will end up being it's going to last for a long time. You know, endemic, as you would actually say.
4 years.
A lot of these people, everything is going to be online. That's it. It's
everything.
Everything.
And everybody, and then when you call, everybody's working from home for these same companies.
Working from home, yeah.
They're working from home.
Yeah.
Amazon, QVC, agents, everything. And everybody's working from home.
She's got a point. Yeah, everything is going online. At one time, it wasn't that way because you could go to the mall around. Look at Black Friday. They said Black Friday wasn't what it used to be.
No, it wasn't.
You know what I'm saying? Only the crazy ones still trying to live sleeping outside, you know, and hanging out outside.
Why are you yelling?
And then the same thing for what was it? Cyber Monday? It was Cyber Week. The whole week.
Yeah. And everybody's going to school online over the internet. I mean, it's just crazy like that.
All I got to say is Up. Remember the movie Up? No, matter of fact, it wasn't Up.
Oh, you talking about
Wally.
You always talk about that.
Well, I'm telling you, that was prophetic. That movie. It's a cartoon, but it was so many factors involved in that movie that you should consider. That movie, it was a Pixar movie, and it was called Wally. And everything about it is in some instances, rolling out these days. People are not actually going out of their home. They're living a virtual life. With Facebook trying to change into meta universe, the metaverse, it's even rolling out that extent where you do nothing except for have these goggles on your face and you live doing everything through the internet. It's a sad development in
that's
human.
what they say about the movies.
Yeah. But you know something that's really crazy? I don't know if you've ever seen South Park. Because South Park, they have those little guys walk around and they got some filthy mouths, man. I'm telling you, for cartoon characters. Yeah, they're like filthy mouths. I'm like, yo.
That's what seems to attract Americans. The more filth that we hear, the more they're more popular. We were just talking about the comedians too. We're watching some comedies, and I'm not into vulgar comedians as some people are. Like some people, the minute you hear these 4 and 5-letter words, they're laughing and behind. To me, it just shows that you have no real skill, comedy wise. You know, you can do the shock, you can shoot the quick shock and all type stuff and say words. And try to build a story, but if you're not a good comedian, you don't have to. If good comedian doesn't have to curse at all.
Exactly.
Vulgarity come around.
Rappers. If you're a really good rapper, and I was watching this video with Will Smith when he made it in Philly, right? And he was saying the same thing. He says, "You know, I know how to rap, but you don't know how to rap without saying 4-letter words and curse words." He said, "I dare you to write a rap or song or lyric without using any curse words," and that's true because it tells you the extent of your vocabulary.
That's right.
Because remember, a lot of rappers back in the day, like Cool Mo and some of these guys, they've been to college and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Joey. Hey, Joey. They talk about the doctors. I think that's probably the one biggest inconvenience that still to this day I'm a little uneasy. Not being able to go there and see a doctor. You got to do everything to an app or go virtual. Yeah. I'm like, that's a separation of that patient-doctor type of relationship. Now, it's just really uncomfortable. Everything that you do nowadays. I keep hearing about job interviews, doing through Zoom and so on and so forth.
Yeah, everything.
So now, consider this. You know, you ever heard about what they call, fake science? Not fake science. It's the ability to change someone's face, voice, and everything using the internet. I forget exactly. It's fake something. I forget what it's called. Fake it. I forget what it was. And when I saw this stuff, and it was something recently shown at one of these popular shows, and I was like, if it's that easy, it's going to be very dangerous. Because at any time, somebody can portray themselves like you, go on a Zoom, and someone is going to believe they're talking to you because it's so lifelike, and they can basically take your whole life away from you.
Doing that anyway.
So it's just now that it's more, when you can see stuff like that in science, 007 type espionage, government, stuff like that, it's believable. But in normal applications, you wouldn't necessarily believe it was going to take place so soon. But that's crazy. I think it's called fake science or fake. It's an application that you do that. You can go there and register for it. It's something that you pay a couple $, for, and then you're able to create your own face image or change how you look and sound. I'm like, that's dangerous.
Sounds like what the kids call.
The thing about this, because I don't know if you've ever heard it's called a spoof card.
Which one?
It's called a spoof card. Have you ever heard of that?
No, spoof card.
Yeah. Well, basically, let me. I remember when it first came out because obviously I was one of the first individuals on board that a spoof card. Yeah, it's called a spoof card.
Uh-huh.
You know, I remember when the company approached me and stuff. I'm like, let me test this out. And a spoof card, I could actually, dial within the spoof with, it gives the card, it gives you numbers, and after you put your phone number in, I could actually call your phone number. But when you look at your ID caller, you say, how the hell is this guy calling me? But at the same time, it's my ID call, it's my phone number. So it was able to change the dynamics of numbers. Not only that, but also voices of an individual. So you can make a man sound like a woman and a woman sound like a man. A spoof card.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I didn't know the term was, but
yeah, it's called spoof card.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But that's what I used to play a trick on my friend. Like this one guy, what he's actually done, him and his friends, he's like, okay, you guys, he pulled a prank on him. And he actually called and made it sound like a woman and calling him and says, hey, because the guy loves to play the lottery. And he told him that he actually won the lottery. But it was his buddy playing a trick on him. So he went out, started celebrating and the whole night. It was his buddy that played a prank on him. So that's the spoof card.
That's crazy. That's dangerous.
Oh yeah, and a lot of criminals and debt collectors caught up with that, and then they started doing it. So now they made that totally illegal for the debt collectors. Not to mention the debt collectors have a new, form of tool in their toolkit because now they're able to approach your social media now.
There we go. AI fake generator. It's called fake face generator. It's available through Apple. Fake face generator. I was like, oh my God. You were just talking about, I remember, well, I guess people cloning or mass duplicating things that to look to be real has been stuff that's been happening forever. But I remember the one time where for a while there you saw people get lottery tickets that were fake lottery tickets and you scratch it off, it's like $10,000. I remember one time we were in the mall over at the at the back when it was there, it was called the Franklin Mills Mall. And there's one location that would be lottery. It was a popular place for lottery. It seemed like it was 3 people back to back coming in with fake lottery tickets, and I guess either they were scamming the guy or they were scammed themselves. But they had bought tickets for $10 and they scratched it off, and each one was $10,000. And he was like, he had to shut the store down. And the reason I was paying attention because it was right across from a store where I was waiting for my wife to get out of. And I'm watching them take place, and I'm like, wow, it's really good for them. It's really cool to see people win money. You finally win instead of just constantly taking them. They said $10,000. I said, cool. And then the guy said, that person has the same ticket, $10,000. I said, oh, hold up. What's the ticket? I need to buy one. Maybe I get lucky too. And come to find out, it was a big ass scam. People are scamming, generating these very real looking or authentic looking artificial scratch offs, and people winning $10,000.
Yeah, you could actually make those scratch offs and stuff. I've come across companies to do so.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times you can use it for like fundraisers or pranks or jokes and stuff like that. Right. It's cool. It's preying on people's wants and desires a little bit too easy. I'd be mad as hell. I bought a scratch off and it's fake and it says that I win something big. I'll be mad. I get upset now paying $1.
Because Publishers Clearinghouse many years ago used to do stuff like that until the government got on their case.
That was one that used to get us every year. Every once you can win $1,000 for life. You can win
Publishers Clearinghouse.
Every time you turn around, they up the ante. It's not only $1,000, $2,000, it's $7,000, it's $10,000, all this stuff. But you'd have to fill out all these online documents. I was like,
and then they send a whole lot of garbage and junk in the freaking mail.
It's a big packet just to sell magazines.
So I remember a lot of those companies, man. I remember a lot of those companies growing up.
I remember them just dumping stuff on you, and then all of a sudden at the end, you got a couple magazines that you subscribe to that you only watch, and you never had a chance to really win anyway.
Well, they did that to me and a few other students when I went to Chelsea. Chelsea Junior High, 12 years old, 11 years old. You know, the teacher's like, well, you know, take one of these cards and pass it around, and you go home and you fill it out and have your parents, you know, and then you bring it back to school. And before you know it, I had a freaking subscription to a damn magazine that I never even knew anything about. And this was at Chelsea Junior High. You know, so, you know, I went back, you know, and, you know, they're like, okay, they start sending me a freaking bill every single month. My mother was like, no, no, no. You know, my son is underage, first of all. Yeah. So there's no possible way he could actually sign a legalized contract with you guys. So you're going to have to get rid of it.
That was a big ass scam. The school every year, the book sale. Oh, it's a book sale. Can I buy a book? I buy a book. No, they sell them subscriptions. And you like, and your kids
exactly.
It was a big ass scam. Just like taking pictures, picture day. Big ass scam. All of these scams that they do on prey on students.
On the students. Yeah. And that should be totally illegal. No, they should not be able to actually go into schools and do these damn things. Period.
I hated that shit. I remember every week it was Scholastic. I think it was called Scholastic something. Remember, and it used to get every week, and you're in a grade school, and you would see Scholastic Reader. I think it was called Scholastic Readers, and you get a weekly magazine in school, and everybody would read from it. And at the back of the page is always some subscription sold. Somehow you can get National Geographic for kids. You can get all this stuff, and they package it real nice, and they get you every week. They try to get you until the book sale. What's up, Santos? Hopefully everybody's good over there, bro. But the books, they used to always rob you. And when you get the books, after you spend $14, $15 for this thing, it would be a pamphlet. You'd be mad as hell after the fact. You read 2 pages of the pamphlet and it's done. But it's never really worth $14, $15. But they get you. Get everybody. So I can Encyclopedia Britannicas. I still got mine.
Yeah, so do I.
Still got mine in the back.
My son, boxes of those bad boys back in the day.
Oh my God.
And we're talking when I was in Trinidad, not even in America, here in Trinidad, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. It was something special though. The Encyclopedia Britannicas, my mom always believed, you know, she's like, I paid so much money right there. You can get all the help you can. They can't teach me math. You know, they can't teach me with this and that. It's just they can't. I paid so much. Yes, you can. Okay. And each time, it was crazy.
I use mine. But I don't know about you.
10 years ago, when I was running an after-school program, some of the kids I made sure I had my Encyclopedia Britannica there because I used to tell them, I said, if the computers aren't available, you always have a resource so you can get some just dictionaries or some basic information so you'll have understanding. However, it's not modern, so you can get a different twist to it online. So I would tell them all this stuff, and each time, nah, Mr. Mo, you can't get it there. You can't watch. Open up the encyclopedia. Like, damn, these books have everything. Look how many encyclopedias there are. It should have everything or any kind of idea. But trust me, if they were to do encyclopedias now, it wouldn't be 30 books. It'd be like 90 books for all the information that's available.
Yeah, but then again, everything is online.
Everything.
Yep.
Google it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. The University of Google.
That's everybody's answer today's day. Did you Google it? No.
Exactly.
I gotta Google every damn thing. I'm like, no, I do the other one, the duck. Which is the other one that's called the swimming duck or some shit? Is the other operating, the one that opens up. It's not just for the advertisement. I started using that for a while. That's crazy. CNN is showing a big fight between white supremacists and neo-Nazis. There's been an uprising. The guy who is focused as being the leader of the white supremacists or the alt-right is being persecuted for the involvements in Charlestown and how he's involved in all this movement. So he's being persecuted these days. So this is what he says. He's being persecuted because he's a white man fighting for white man rights. I'm like, this is got to be the highest level of self-entitlement using egregious amounts of violence to keep supporting this entitlement. And it's a shame. August 11, 2017 in Charleston. Remember when they took over the park in Charleston?
Yes, yeah.
This is where they're showing it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So there was something else I wanted to talk about that was really interesting last minute. It caught me off guard. I was like, get out of here. I talked to Uyghurs in a whole nother. People ain't paying attention to the weathers right now. Have you seen how in Kentucky, how many twisters had been reported in the last 24 hours? Said 15. 15.
Yeah, but Hawaii is flooded like crazy.
But you saw the snow? You saw the snow? Last week I was telling people I said, watch this guy. His name his page is called Ryan Hall, y'all, right? And he's a weather specialist. He does a really good intricate plan, shows you different maps, discusses all that stuff. He says he was spending a little time in Hawaii. He's like, I know you guys don't believe it, but there's going to be a blizzard in Hawaii. It's going to be 2 cycles of blizzard. It's going to be snow and so. The next damn day, you saw pictures and videos of how much snow. It didn't look like Hawaii. You saw palm trees covered in all kinds of snow, 2 or 3 inches. They said they can have certain parts of Maui was covered with up to 1.5 feet of snow. That's a lot of water. Now with the mudslides, because they're melting.
The mudslides, correct.
Which promotes erosion. That's heavy when those island systems get flooded with that much snow that turns into water. That water moves and all kinds of activity takes place. But that wasn't the only thing. Now, the northwest region of the United States is being covered with so much rain that potential rain slides, dams and things will be breaking. This is the same area that's been targeted with this yearly fire that never seems to be quenched. Oh, it's being quenched big time. They're fearing the Puget Sound is in jeopardy because of the way the weather
is bonkers right about now, because wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to get up into the 70s, and then it's going to drop 20 to 30 degrees below the following day on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You can see. So tomorrow's going to be beautiful, and then everything's going to go right off the cliff.
I felt it. And this is going to say we're going to have considerably mild temperatures for about a week. They said on the 8th and 9th day, the weather is going to be a drastic change. Weather's going to drop down to 30s and 40s. And if this high pressure keeps pushing and that cold weather comes in, there's going to be nothing but snow. So they're talking about roughly the 17th of December is when you see lots of activity. So just keep paying attention, y'all, because these winter happenings and all this weather can affect us in a major way. Remember, we're cold. A cold ground doesn't absorb water as one that's one that's
correct,
more vaporous, more porous, and so on and so forth. So water has to move places. So as it rains and floods, that water is going to be moving a lot quicker, which has more potential of breaking things down from the foundation or breaking down buildings, massive things. So,
thinking about, like it says, you have to remember we're living on a very old planet,
mm-hmm.
And people have to just remember that. I mean, this planet is not young, and considering all of the oil spills and everything that we've done with the drilling and everything of mankind, we've destroyed this planet Earth. To try to say that you're going to save it at the 11th hour, that's very, very modest, very noble of you in the whole 9 yards. But at the end of the day, it's still the whole world. You could have these people in America, doing one thing, but the people in China and Russia doing something else. You don't have any form of cohesiveness when it comes down to actually trying to save the planet. So at the end of the day, it's not going to really get done.
Mm-mm. It's sad, but it's actually putting us in even a larger threat. Mm-hmm. Putting a larger threat. My wife and I are diving into making jewelry. So
okay.
we're putting a lot more rocks and jewels and stuff like that to pick up, So my wife, again, is flexing her experience. Used to do that years ago.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's called an entrepreneur deal. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's cool. My juices are flowing all over the place. My artistic juices sometimes get stifled for a certain person that we know. But I'm very creative, and my wife just doesn't switch her mindset from being a consumer to being a producer. It's not that easy for her. She's always like, when she makes jewelry and stuff like that, it's for her own use and her pleasure most of the time. She doesn't look at it to sell or to create to promote for future sales anyway. So that's the dilemma that we are. I have the mentality to flip back and forth, and sometimes she doesn't see it. So it's like, okay, but it's going. It'll eventually go. I think.
I'm pretty sure it's really nice stuff because, like it says, a lot of people Never really knew how good they have it when they made the jewelry or make a record, or they're like, oh, well, this is not going to sell. And before it blows up like crazy, and everybody wants to buy it. So
Yep. I mean, and incoming, if anyone's superstitious or just have deep beliefs, like I just made this one last week. These are using stone, um, red, vibrant red stone with gold spacers and so on and so forth, in reflection of um, Asian understandings of philosophies, numerology. Like there's 8 beads in between. There's 5 cycles. There's 3 color shifts in this whole thing. 3, 5, and 8 most popular um, lucky numbers in Asian numerology, Chinese numerology, and that we're walking, as in the last week of January will begin Asian New Year. I wanted to try to create some things to promote things, because I know as we're closing out 2021, there's still going to be a lot of people who have felt like they haven't accomplished the things they like to, what have you, and they still believe in luck. So I'm going to make some things available so you can feel a little more lucky. Things that can be systemically numerology, ancient tradition, different things that have some real substantial meaning to it. That you can probably pick up yourselves. So I think a little bit helps. So the other thing I have is dark crystals that I always wear everywhere. These are actually crystals, and they're onyx crystals, and they fend away bad energy, bad moods, and bad people. And they've done a really good job. And it could be just my belief, but that little bit of belief that it helps and promotes it keeps me going.
That's pretty cool, because I have a mouth, and that fends off a lot of bad energy. I don't need crystals. I have my mouth, and I'll tell you. There's no doubt about it. I'm very vocal that way. Like I always say, it's not what you say, but how you say that really counts.
Okay. Well, I know I have been accused of saying some things that could be taken in different elements. So these days, I think the potential residuals of whatever has been said in the past years is what I'm concerned about. People just angry and upset, looking at for opportunities just to say the worst things and do the worst things here and there. So I'm like, look, whatever can help me go day to day, just to live peaceful, quietly, and all that stuff. That's cool. I'm with it. Plus, a little accoutrements don't hurt nobody.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
Color variation, a little something here and there. What I mean?
But even like I said, some of the places around here, you see a lot of pop-up jewelry places, people making their own jewelry. A friend of mine was telling me about that in Philadelphia. They had like a pop-up mall, and they'll pop up and the people have their own type of West Indian food in the whole 9 yards. And they'll have their jewelry that they've made, and they're selling the jewelry. I mean, that's cool stuff, man.
Right. Everybody's got a little something.
Some of the flea markets and stuff that they have, like in Vineland, they have one every Saturday. Flea market there, and they sell a lot of jewelry and all that kind of fancy stuff.
We've been creative as a family for a long time. My wife and I, a combination of the terrible duo. We used to, excuse me. We had our own company. Oh God.
Okay.
We made holistic cosmeceuticals is what it's called. Cosmeceuticals, not pharmaceuticals. Cosmeceuticals using natural products. Shea, avocado, cocoa butter, all the things that are natural, and vitamin E and stuff. We made a lot of cosmeceuticals, and it was really popular. It was starting to build popular skin products, medicinal benefits, really helpful. Because they were 100% natural, it was a lot easier for people to digest and use it. In a couple cases, we had people with really drastic cases of eczema and psoriasis. It helped eradicate it in these people. One little kid that I saw one time, I just make sure I had enough for the child for applications. She said in about 2 weeks' time after using that stuff, all the psoriasis was removed from their body because of using it. It was shea butter, just did a wonderful thing. Well, we were doing that for a while, and we developed like a long catalog of different things here and there, products for men, products for women, the whole nine. It was just a lot of work needed to be done to be able to continue that stuff, but it was a popular thing. I mean, someone can stumble onto some of the products. It was called Simple Pleasures by Nicole, and we had, like I said, the skincare products, which was cosmeceuticals, and we also had candles for people that were into candles,
Mhm.
soy-based candles. So it was kind of stuff like that. So we've always been creative. One year, my wife wanted to learn decoration, so I would bake and she would decorate cakes. I'm the caterer. My wife, my mother, and I used to have a catering service. So I'm the cook.
Okay.
So we would cook at different venues or cook for other people. And when in Christmas months, I'm known to make coquito. So I got to get that cooking.
Yeah.
Just ready. My partner is supposed to come in with a shipment of the high grade stuff to make sure that bring some balance to the coquito. Last year we made cake or desserts, Christmas desserts in a mason jar, which was very popular with a lot of people. Before that, we made cake balls,
Mm-hmm.
um, the rum filled or different type of alcohol filled cake, and it was prepared. It was really edible. Really, you can taste the alcohol, but it wasn't enough to get people drunk, and it was really popular. So every year, I would do something. Um, we'd give away things for people and so on and so forth because it was just I don't know. It became a tradition. We got to feed our creative side a little bit. And for Christmas, if you can't go all out to buy expensive gifts, sometimes the most meaningful gift is the one that you make yourself for the people that
Yeah.
you. We made cookies, we made cakes.
Mm-hmm.
There's always food and stuff like that. So things that we can use, more credible things. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this jewelry stuff will be received. You know what I mean? Because it would help. As times are coming, we talked about the hustles. One time I had 5 jobs at one time.
Yeah, I
So
remember you was talking about that earlier. Yeah.
I might have to return to the hustle concept and, little job here, little job there to make ends meet until things get more consistent. But 'tis the season. I
That's
mean,
it. It's the season to make money, man. I'm telling you. That's the reason why the Christmas trees are green because there's a lot of green to make in Christmas. To tell you the truth, there's a
right?
lot of green to be made. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I remember many years ago, this one guy wanted me to pay for freight, just the trucking, just for the gas alone for 18-wheeler,
Hmm.
and I would have had access to about a large number of Christmas trees that I would be able to sell. You guys to just pay for the gas for the truck to bring it down there, and that's $1,000, and all of the trees you want will be right on board, and it's all yours.
Mm.
So I mean, I've had some phenomenal deals to tell you the truth, man. In my time, I've
Yeah,
seen a lot of stuff. Yeah,
that's definitely hustle.
yeah.
Definitely hustle.
Because right now a lot of those Christmas trees are very expensive too.
Hmm.
Because the weather and the temperature and these things have to be grown all year round, and it has to have the perfect temperature and the perfect weather to grow the Christmas trees.
Yeah.
So there's like a kind of a shortage, I've heard.
Yeah. And once you get a tree, I mean, I'm wondering why there will be a shortage because they're self-sustaining. Like a Christmas tree can actually grow within a year's time. Actually, less than that,
Mm-hmm.
get a full grown. I just saw crazy stuff. I just saw a documentary on self-sustaining forests and creating forestry. One of the things is Christmas trees. It grows quickly. They talked about Egypt. They talked about China, how it created from bad lands or lands that wouldn't
Yeah.
normally be able to grow things, and they just came up with a forest by using certain very aggressive plants and trees to grow in those areas that would
Mm-hmm.
actually promote the cultivation of the grounds and what have you, and create a whole new, very diverse, very fertile ground, and then
Mm-hmm.
these semi jungles will grow. So I'm like, yo, why not Christmas trees? Why the hell not?
Yeah, Christmas trees. Yeah, and like I said, with the economy and stuff, it's very expensive for these things right about now.
Hmm.
So a typical small tree is going to cost you like $50. It's going to set you back. It's going to cost you this time around, Jack. Everything is up there.
True that.
Everything is up there. And I heard people are still buying those cars like crazy out of those used cars, like flying off the lots these days because everybody, panic buying is what's going on, especially coming to the end of the year.
Hmm.
You have a lot of panic
People don't have
buying. And this is the time of year where the suicide rates normally go up because there's so much going on. And then you throw a pandemic into the mix, then you got a situation in hand.
hmm And that's just sad because 'tis the season, the most sensitive season sometimes the most counterproductive season, because you're in a belief that everything's supposed to be joyous, except for that one person who's just having a real tough time to deal with stuff. It creates a slide. So instead of sharing that cheer onto someone and that becoming very easy to spread wise, it just wouldn't with this one individual. And then as you're doing it, their resentment is growing even more.
Yeah.
So it becomes even more difficult. So I guess that's how the industry is. If you look at it from a wider,
Exactly.
the industry itself in this area is about hospitality. What you're encouraging is constantly a smile and always this opening, welcome feeling. When in instances or reality suggests that it's not, everything ain't coochie crunch. So if you're making people force feed happiness and joy, you're taking it away from their ability to actually have it.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but that's how the system is.
Yeah. It's the world we live in, bro. I mean, times have definitely changed, and you got to change with the times.
Indeed.
You know, and I'm a big believer of that. You know, I mean, things will never be the same, and things are not going to go back to normal. When these people are saying, "Oh yeah, I want to go back to normal," there's no such thing as normal anymore. You know, the only thing that you have right now is to live your life to the best of your ability, and that's it. Hey,
Yes.
oh, I thought you fell asleep there.
I was actually looking down at the bottom.
I
Look at someone on the bottom.
said this joker just fell asleep. I said, "What the hell?" I said, this joker just fell asleep.
I saw something in my feet and I was trying to figure out what the hell that was. I'm like, what the?
I was getting ready to close things out.
Leave me out there by myself. I
Yeah,
remember like that one time.
remember the joker that we had on there one time that fell asleep? I was
Oh,
like, this joker
God.
just fell the hell asleep.
My man fell out at the back and you couldn't tell him nothing. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
So, what we got planned going on? You know what? I just wanted to give you some heads up. There's some things going on holiday wise. I know my colleague, the sister, the queen, Toya, is working on some Christmas parties. I'm gonna try to connect with my guys, Atlantic County Toys for Kids. We're gonna have a little toys. I'm gonna try to give away some toys probably the week of Christmas to give out to some things. So I'll let you know as we move forward. But I know there's a lot of activities. I know my man Eric Gonzalez wants to participate in giving Christmas, and as although my tenure in politics has ended, my service to humankind doesn't. And so we're trying to put things together. I don't know. You I think you and I talked about this before. You usually have a quiet New Year's, right? Is that the case? You stay home?
Yeah.
Or,
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm still contemplating doing a little get together.
Yeah, but that event that I was telling you about, man, that seems to be pretty high.
Oh yeah, that's
You know,
major.
you know what I'm saying? So
Right? You know what? That's all over the place. So
I may just indulge in that. You know what I'm saying? Because
we're able, yes.
for many years, I spent in the casino business, bringing in many New Year's, many Christmases.
So did
You
I.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
We're
I'll
going
say
back to the
it's
80s.
fun. It's fun. The times I've been there, New Year's, and the years changing over.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I
You
had
know, at Harris, and I've seen it at the Plaza. You
I
know, in Tropicana.
made tons of money,
You know,
lots of tips, worked overtime. I remember one New Year's, I had to come in. I had 11 to 7 shift. They asked me to stay overtime, so I went from 11 to 7, then stayed and continued. And I didn't leave until 8 o'clock the next morning because they needed an overnight shift and the whole nine. So I went from 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock the next morning. I went home for an hour. They called me. They needed someone back up to clean up. I said, sure, why the hell not? Let's go. And I was able to back then. Boy, getting paid double overtime at that time with all the tips and stuff like that. That was a hell of a good way of turning the year over into the next year. That was a lot of fun.
Well, that's what you call, starting off the year with a bang. You know what I'm saying?
And then the funny stuff. Remember how in the casinos, everyone right before the New Year's goes into the locker room to get their spike?
Yeah, I know all about it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I know all about it. We used to have Christmas parties, in the casinos, also. We were the employees. and everybody will bring a particular dish from their country and whatever the case may be. You know, it's a really nice spread. Harris had it, and they probably still have it this year and stuff. Really nice spread.
I haven't seen a lot of that stuff. I used to love that. There was so much more participation.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much more participation, and camaraderie and fun from the holiday events that for the employees that they used to have. The off-site gatherings, sometimes like the casino parties from the multiple casinos at one time at club, or the summertime, the cookouts, or the beach times, or going over to the pier or Wildwood, Lake Lenape. I used to love that, man.
And that's the thing about it, because back then, the casinos used to participate with the community. But now it seems like they're an island unto themselves, and every time you turn around, they're asking for money like they're doing right now from the state, but at the same time, they're not kicking it back to the employees. And it seems like it's just going in one direction. I don't know. Maybe it's just my opinion. It is my opinion, but
there's crazy. One big discussion taking on right now that's going to weigh heavy. There's a proposal of a new pilot bill that the outgoing Senate President Sweeney, see ya, he's trying to propose, and they're claiming that 4 existing casinos may close. They have to shut their doors because business is down, and this pilot bill, if it doesn't go through, makes it almost impossible for them to function. I'm like, the last time they told us that bullshit, they lied to us, and they continue to go and sit in game. But they're talking about 3 to 4 houses closing their door, and I keep thinking about, in doing so would be the biggest loss, because the casinos are actually doing pretty good during the pandemic time. Even in a situation where post-pandemic, where the doors have opened up, they're doing pretty good. Not as good as they used to in the past, but given them the conditions, in comparison to the other people who are other operators in the area.
So my question to you, do you think that they should receive a corporate bailout? Do you think they should receive the bailout? Because basically that's what it is.
It's gaming. It's voluntary. I don't think they should. I think there should have been provisions created within the company for extraordinary situations to be a feasibly responsible company. However, if the gaming body or the body that governs over the practices of these buildings didn't insure us, then the federal government shouldn't have to. They can always get a loan, federal loan, and have to pay it back, but it's smaller increments here and there. But they should still offer it solely to the employees versus the gamblers, the dedicated gamblers that goes on. I'm not one to believe that casinos, anybody else, should get corporate welfare. It's hard for me to see that when we have regular Americans who can't sustain life based on what little money they get in assistance. Why should we get big corporations that make millions consistently, and their board of directors walks off with big 6 to 9 zeros on their paychecks, or these closing bill checks, walk away regularly? And it's not a thing as long as you're part of their corporate officers. So I'm like,
Yeah, but one thing I just came to get just something that came to mind, because I remember the Borgata actually appealed the taxes of Atlantic City many years ago, and then Atlantic City having to owe the Borgata because they appeal it. Now these companies are actually asking for money because of the pandemic and actually what happened. But at the same time, I don't know. It's just like it's like a riddle and a puzzle all in one to me,
Well, some of the factors think key in. For a major portion of the time, they weren't acting in a full capacity. They were shut doors. However, they still had online gaming, which made a big boost. There were still revenues made there. Some of the reservations were still prepaid, so there was some funds there. But their regular operating expenses died down because they had no activity. So since their operating expenses died down and their income balanced out the same way, it shouldn't be that much of a loss. The problem is a lot of these casinos are corporate entities, and they have investors, and their investors are so egregious and wanting to make sure that they have a return on investment, because they don't care about the employees. They don't care about the overall workforce. They only care about their return on the investment. And the sole purpose that the presidents and CFOs have is to make the investors proud. not the employees, but the investors proud. So that again, that festering of that ill relationship, that broken relationship between humans and protocol, it leaves us out there. And now casinos are claiming, because of the pandemic and the circumstances, they may not be able to recover. I keep saying, well, you were bad business practices for you not to be prepared for extraordinary situations. I just can't see continuing fold on a company who's folded on helping a company that's basically shut or turned its back to the community as often as long as they have. There's no return. So I'm not in support of this bill. I think there's ways to be able to assist them, but to create a pilot program where you have to some pay taxes and still instead of paying the taxes that they're supposed to, they'll pay a certain amount as a payment in lieu of taxes. You try to underscore the whole process. The process is set up as an ongoing formula that's perpetual. You trying to skirt it out and making sure that you can get the best benefit by paying a little bit amounts. That to me doesn't pay off it well. That's not a responsible funding. So we'll see. But this big bill is taking place right now, and their complaints is, well, it's pandemic and this way and that way.
Yeah, with Sweeney on his way out, I wonder if he's going to actually try to push that through.
That's what he's doing. He's pushing that now. He's pushing it heavy, and then he has his minions or believers in the background giving him all this information so he can utilize and justify his needs. And I'm like, no, they don't justify it. Because the end things, and all the reports suggest the same thing. These casinos, their bottom line has been better and more vibrant than it has been in decades. And how can this be true as far as the pandemic?
But here's the situation here, because you're looking at Sweeney and he said that he's pushing this stuff through. But at the same time, that's the same thing Chris Christie did with the Revel. When the Revel ran out of money and it needed to be completed, he's like, hey, look, we just can't have a huge building just standing here. So they went to the state, and the state advanced them some money. And what happened? It still went under.
Yes.
End up being sold, over to the ocean, which it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, only the taxpayers fit that bill.
And it shouldn't be. Taxpayers have already carried a burden that they shouldn't have for so long.
Because I'm pretty sure they never got a tax break after all of that stuff was done.
Nobody did. Mm-hmm. We'll see. But nobody's gotten a tax benefit by it. And now, as they said, the reports are saying a high number of individuals who have been unemployed will no longer be supported by Social Security or by any kind of unemployment insurance protection. So there's going to be a lot of hungry people looking for monies. Will the workforce or the body of employers that are out there, will they be willing and able to pay individuals their worth now?
Exactly. That's what it really boils down to. If not, they're going to suffer the consequences.
Yep.
And being a business owner for many times and many years and stuff, I know that from personal experience.
Right.
You have to pay people for what, especially with inflation, because people have to live, they have to survive. You have to pay them, a livable wage. That's what it's about now. Mm-hmm. That $8 and change many years ago, that's an insult.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's an insult. The thing about it is also because you mentioned about, I heard you earlier about the immigration situation in New York, mm-hmm. having people come in to vote. Mm-hmm. Many of these people pay taxes. Yep. But it's like taxation without representation. Mm-hmm. And many people in the United States fought against that for many years. Taxation without representation. People who are legal, immigrants into this country, which is a lot of people. You look at DACA, a lot of those people from DACA and stuff, the kids that grow up in the whole 9 yards, they pay taxes. If they buy a car or whatever the case may be, they pay taxes. Mm-hmm. But they don't have any form of representation. That's a huge gap. And by New York doing that, I can see a lot of Republicans going to try to push back on that, because it will create almost 1 million plus people actually coming on to the side of the Democrats to give them a much more heavier weight.
We'll
And
see how
that's
that goes.
exactly what's going on.
We'll see how this goes, man. Because the way things are going, there's actually, I'm seeing a lot of activity, which is good. Because we need to, we can't always sit on our laurels and make sure everything is kumbaya, even when we don't have a sense of agreement. Which it's necessary. We need to have a sense of agreement. You ain't got to love each other as long as you respectfully acknowledge that the person opposite of you has the same rights that you do. And if you have different points of view, that's fine. But it has to be available or visible to everyone else so we can see the conversation or the dialogue, because it's necessary for at least us to understand there. Most of these individuals out here don't have the experience and slash doing um, the experience alone. You know what I mean? So just a lot of these people are just suffering. You know what I mean? How things have changed,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, you're right. Because like I said, people our age actually went through, the pandemic, which created depression, and you have the recession, and then you have the Great Recession, and all this kind of fancy stuff.
Yeah, man.
The number of crashes on Wall Street. We've seen our way through all of this stuff.
Hell yeah.
Man on the moon and man in space, and all of this kind of craziness. Flying cars like the Jetsons. We're living. I tell everybody, we're living in the flipping future. That's what it is right now.
It's just picking and choosing which future that is. How we're going to manage through the present, the future that we know is, towards the future that we've still yet to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Well, like I said, man is about to boldly go where no man has gone before. Come tomorrow, they'll be blasting off.
Yep.
Then
the question is, should his ass been minding his own business, or is it finally a grand accomplishment? We will find out.
Who's that?
We'll find out. Whoever it is moving forward. You know what I mean? As far as man going to places they've never been, we're gonna find out. I just saw this movie, and I said this to my son before. As I saw a documentary about science and history, and how at times it seems like governments use the film industry sometimes to inform and integrate a new perspective onto the general population by having it available in entertainment wise. And I always said, if you look at it in a movie, it may have already occurred at least 10 years prior. It may have already, from some degree, have occurred about 10 years prior. So with that being said, there was a film that I just saw with Cooper, my man from Philadelphia. Is it Stanley Cooper? Anyway, he's an actor from Philadelphia, really good actor, well renowned. They're traveling to the moon, and they're apparently addressing something that they found in the dark side of the moon, and in the dark side of the moon, and also the subterranean cavity in the moon, where apparently there's some creatures available. So one of the things the creatures they talk about is some mass that seems to consume large rocks, boulders, meteors, even planets, but it moves like it's a ghost, some anomaly. It's a crazy film, but as I watch them all the time, I always look for signs or the things that you can look key things that you can look into that may have some grounds in more science than fiction and more reality than we're comfortable for. So I'm waiting for that one because I think it's called Moonbase. It's going to be something. It's a real good thing, but we will see. But as we're moving into that final hour, I had to announce, folks, we're going to be moving solely to a 2-hour block instead of 3-hour block to accommodate life and the potential for us to be able to shift around. And as we said before earlier on, we're going to try to make things a little more concise and a little bit more of
focus.
Right, more focus on the content than just the string around. When we have people having conversations, then we allow the conversation to go on. But because it's just right now, just the host and the co-host, or as we stand, the conversation, we don't want to drag on something that goes on. So we're going to try to close out this evening a little earlier in hopes that everyone can join on possibly next week or moving forward. But before we do that, as always, we try to let one another share information to the general population. It could be an assistance. Adrian, you got anything you can probably share to the world?
Not particularly. I mean, it's just just take care of yourself and enjoy the weekends. You know what I'm saying? Life moves on, but you gotta live every day to its fullest. The definition of life is day to day. Live it to the fullest. And
Sure.
be safe. There's no doubt about it. Because we're all living in a crazy, mixed up world. So don't get too mixed up in this crazy world.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Remember, this season is supposed to be a joyous season, but it's also probably one of the most difficult seasons for some people to manage through with mental health issues. The Christmas season is also the season when you see more suicides than other times. So you never know how people are carrying the burdens of life. So pay attention to one another, interact with one another, be a helping hand, even lend someone an ear. There may be times where you don't want to hear the nonsense that you say. There's nonsense coming out the ears. It could be a person's cry for help. So just pay attention and listen. It's extremely important for us, even during this time, that we don't lose our humanity, that we don't use our compassion, that we are more cautious one another, and helping one another move forward. Because ultimately, we are this one world universal tribe. And if each one doesn't teach one, each one doesn't reach one, all we're going to do is watch each other fall apart. And instead of coming together and unified as universal brothers and sisters of the world, we'll be falling apart. Just like Chinua Achebe's world famous, world renowned, best selling book, Things Fall Apart. If we are not the elements of unity in the community, we are going to fall apart like bits and pieces of something that was once great or had the potential of being. So, without being doom and gloom, pay attention. You might see some opportunities out there for employment. Get it, make that money. Get opportunities to make some sudden money for the holidays. Make that money.
That's it.
Holidays come every year. You can celebrate for any reason, any day of the year. But if you have a chance to put a little money in your pocket, little
Pull
savings,
it down. Take it off the table.
get it in there. Get it in there. And I still
Cha-ching.
say, right. You were saying? Go ahead.
I said cha-ching.
Exactly. And I'm still saying this is the pandemic time. You know, some people say if you don't have a pandemic, baby, you don't know. Well, if you don't have a pandemic mindset, you probably don't understand how there's opportunities for you to make money. If you have a skill, a craft, anything that you can put together, something that someone else can appreciate, you have an opportunity of making some money.
But Mo, let me ask you a question because you mentioned earlier, sorry to interrupt, you mentioned earlier about your wife making jewelry in the whole 9 yards because that's what Etsy does.
Yes.
Etsy, you actually make the jewelry and stuff. Etsy is a way that you can actually make it personalized jewelry and you can sell it online.
Yep.
Poshmark is another company that if you have, clothing or whatever the case may be, that's really nice that you don't no longer use, you could also make some money and put that online and sell it also.
Yep.
And there are a few other companies like that.
Yep. There's opportunities for you if you're able to. But my wife and I, the more and more we build the product line, then we'll be able to advertise in those areas. Because one thing I know for certain, when we used to have our cosmeceutical company, if your demand isn't ready for demand, then you'll be nothing but a fake supplier. Nobody wants to believe you. I remember one time we had an order. Someone placed an order. They got their hands on a thing that we called earth milk. And earth milk was comprised of avocado oil, avocado butter, cocoa butter, shea, vitamin E, and it was another fact. It was something that I jumped on, got the chemical breakdown from a company in Wisconsin that sold it to Regenerist. It was a rejuvenating cream or something. Well, I got the formula maybe 6 months before Rejuvenest did. So we put together and created this thing called Earth Milk. Someone loved it. My wife loved it like crazy. Would make it in the whole nine. It's a certain type of chemical breakdown. I was the chemist, of course. And a person ordered 100 jars.
Wow.
And that's a pretty big order for a small craft business the way it was. So I tried to make as many as we possibly could. Did not make the order for 100 jars. We ended up having to consume all the product ourselves and sell it bits and pieces because we were short about 12 cans. And it's because the jars that we were using were specialty jars. They didn't look like anyone else, and we just couldn't find the supplier was available, didn't have those jars. Because we couldn't do that, we can complete it. So, with all that being said, focus on what you can do based on what you have. And then don't talk about potentials unless you're in the business of potentials. And you can talk about it all like this. But make some. If you're good at cooking, make some food. Sell it. If you like,
that's what it's about.
you know exactly. If you have a service that you know you're good and you're worthy, like my brother Adrian has so many services that he really
I kick him out. The thing about it, because this week this one guy says, "Man, whatever you do, it seems like you just seem to pull it down." I'm like, "That's the way I roll." You know what I'm saying?
which is a great thing, man. And during the pandemic, this is the time which you hit a reset button, man. For all those years that we talk about not having to work for someone else, finally becoming your own boss and doing so well, you have an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
Don't make up an excuse, man. It's real easy to stumble off of your achievements. You can fall forward and stumble, as long as you don't stumble and fall backwards. When you're working for yourself, every stumble is a movement forward. Just don't work for somebody else and stumble and fall back, because you're actually falling back even further. So
I heard this one saying, like this one guy. I don't know if you've heard of Donnie Simpson.
mhm.
He used to do video soul many years ago on VH1.
Right.
And he says, you shoot for the sky, and if you miss, you'll still be among the stars. And that's what it's about. You shoot for the sky, and if you miss, you'll still be among the stars. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a damn good statement. I thought I heard that on Soul Train, but it don't matter who said it. It's the bomb.
Yeah,
It's exactly true.
yeah, you shoot for it, man. That's what it's about. There's no such thing as a bad mistake, because every mistake is a learning experience. And that's
Absolutely.
what it's about.
Yep.
And as long as you look at it from that angle, you will definitely do well in life.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to step out and help people when they need it, because whether directly or indirectly, it will come back to you in a different form. God is not going to let you down.
Right.
And that's what it's about.
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever heard this one company is called Candles in the Wind.
I don't think I have.
Candles in the Wind is a company that actually sells nothing but jar candles. Beautiful designs on these things. I remember coming across that company many years ago. I'm like, wow, that's flipping good as hell. Very beautiful, all different types of seashells. And when you actually light the candle, it will smell like whatever you're actually looking at. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of ways out here to make money right about now, and a lot of entrepreneurs are going after it, man. I see it on YouTube and all that kind of stuff all the damn time.
Hell yeah.
It's a big open field now.
That's what it is, man. It's supposed to take this opportunity and run with it.
Yeah.
But, we're going to close up for tonight, y'all, and we're hoping that you do well. Hope that your week is productive, and hopefully next week you got something to talk about. It's real simple, y'all. We talk about it all the time. Make sure you test negative and stay positive in life, making sure that there's no barriers in front of you that you can't disassemble and remove, because ultimately those barriers are probably ones that you put up in the first place. So do what you can with time that you have. Love each other, smile at each other, call each other up, making sure you stay in contact with your loved ones, because tomorrow isn't promised. And the last thing you want to do is live the rest of your life regretting that you may have taken a chance to call someone and say a few words and you messed it up because you wanted to do something else that was really unimportant. So as we close up, we say thank you for coming on by. Remember, we have a website that you're able to go through, and if you're interested in finding information about the show and what we do, you're welcome to go down to our website at www.thenewnorm.com.club. And you can get the information there through our internet mall, the cyber mall there, and you have archives of some of the videos that we've had before, the different shows that we've had, and continued information that be integral in your life, voting information, health information, COVID-19, what have you.
It connects with us right through the site.
Exactly. So it's all connected in hyperlinks and continues going. And again, one of the most unique things that we do have that's a solid gold find is having a pathway to the musical wonders of my man Adrian. And
it gets more night, Jack. You're doing it against more night.
So come on, check it out. If you want to go out, check out his show. Is a regular basis. He does old school hip hop and soca, or Caribbean music.
No, old school hip hop and R&B.
And R&B.
Correct, exactly. That's the one. But we also have another one, which is reggae and soca.
Right.
But if you look at the website to scroll down, you actually see the two banners there.
There you go. So if you're going to have a good time, go check it out. You can say Wagwan. You can have a good time. Go down and wine. Whatever it is that you take, we're available for you. Like always, this site has always been something we've been conduit for information. We continue to try to inform you if anything's coming through. COVID-19 is serious. Don't play stupid. If you get vaccinated, continue to stay covered. Make sure you protect yourself with all the protocols. If you're trying to stay away from the vaccination, be extra sensitive of who you're around and what you can impact and how it can impact you.
Yeah, and before we leave, because the website that I'm working on also, I mentioned with the iPads and stuff, I want to somehow tie it into the show, whereas when people purchase the iPad, you'll be able to make donations to this show also. So
that's cool.
That's awesome.
So I appreciate that.
Get some financing, so
yeah,
I'll work it out. You know what I'm saying?
You always do, bro. You always do. That's my man.
I just do the numbers, make sure everything clicks.
Right.
So when they make, purchase and stuff, we can actually have donations being towards this show also. So we can get something rolling. Right. 2022 is the way to do it,
Exactly. And just in case, if you're interested in donating, you can always go to Patreon and /The New Norm with Mo Delgado and leave a donation there, or just contact us. Our contact information is always available for you if you want to do part of the show, you want to be a sponsor, or if you just have some information you'd like to share with us, or potentially you'd like to come on the show and be one of our co-hosts talking about a specific topic, or you want to enlighten us about something that you do as an entrepreneur, business, or service that you offer. We offer for the general public. We haven't been a funnel for finances as much as a funnel for information. We'll continue to inform you as we move forward, because it's extremely important. The more informed we are, the less likely we get fooled and get our ass handed to it, because we've had too much of that stuff in our lives before. So we try to be the conduit of good news and good vibes. So make sure you take care of yourselves, y'all, because it's extremely important. Life is short. So as I put on the loud music and try to thank you. Come check it out. And there's always information available to you. Like I always say, please take care of yourselves. God bless you all. And until next time.
Have a blessed night, no doubt. Be safe, no doubt. We out.